Today, we're going to look at the 30th book in the Ace Science Fiction Specials Series 1. A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin, 1968. Before we get into A Wizard of Earthsea, I just want to show you a little bit of the art. This is a Leo and Diane Dillon cover. But inside, we have drawings by Ruth Robbins. These drawings include a map of Earthsea and what looks like wood cuttings, but illustrations at the beginning of each chapter. A Wizard of Earthsea was first published by the small press Parnassus in 1968. In 1967, Herman Schein, the publisher of Parnassus Press, asked Le Guin if she could write a book for older children. His wife, Ruth Robbins, just happened to be an illustrator who would work along with Le Guin. She created the iconic map of Earthsea, as well as the woodcut images that you see at the beginning of each chapter. There are 10 chapters, and here are the 10 woodcuts. If you've read A Wizard of Earthsea, you should be able to identify some key moments in the novel. Early concepts for the Earthsea novels came from two short stories by Le Guin, The Rule of Names and The Word of Unbinding, both from 1964. They're collected in The Wind's 12 Quarters from 1975. A Wizard of Earthsea is a satisfying self-contained novel, but Le Guin chose to return to Earthsea. In 1971, she published The Tombs of Atuan. And then in 1972, The Farthest Shore. By the way, I really do like the livery of the Bantam book editions from the mid-1970s. Le Guin followed up with a second trilogy years later. That's a topic for another video. Le Guin's parents were anthropologists, and you can see their influence on her work. We also see the influence of Native American legends and Norse mythology in forming the fantasy worlds of Earthsea. There is a diversity to this world. The story is a coming-of-age story, or rite of passage perhaps. A German term that is used for these stories is Bildungsroman. This term means we're looking at the psychological and moral growth of a character. We follow a young mage named Ged, G-E-D. We see him as someone identified with power, who attends a wizardry and then, in a fateful battle with one of his classmates, releases a darkness. This darkness pursues him. Over the next couple of years, as he graduates from the wizardry school and becomes a wizard for a community, we see him battling dragons and eventually this darkness. Coming in at just 200 pages, this novel has an incredible depth. A depth of world building, of plotting, and the development of young Ged. The cycle of growth that we see in Ged comes to a conclusion in a very satisfying way. In describing this novel, you may see its influence on future work. Perhaps it reminded you of Harry Potter when I said a school of wizardry. In fact, Ged, in his battle, receives a scar on his head. This darkness that's pursuing him sounds familiar, doesn't it? This is the novel that directly precedes The Left Hand of Darkness, a high fantasy young adult novel followed by a classic of science fiction. Has there ever been an author to do back-to-back fantasy and science fiction novels of such depth? A Wizard of Earthsea is so well done. The prose paints pictures, scenes that will stay with you, and the conclusion will resonate with the reader. This is my favorite read so far of 2024. I give A Wizard of Earthsea 9.5 out of 10. Highly recommended. It would have been interesting to see if the A Science Fiction specials had continued on, whether the sequels would have been published as specials. Editor Terry Carr definitely brought Ursula K. Le Guin to the forefront of both science fiction and fantasy fandoms. So tell me about your reading experience with A Wizard of Earthsea. Can you see its ongoing influence in fantasy? How would you rank it against other classic fantasy literature? Until next time, keep reading.